Hi, welcome back. It's Crystal with your daily reading. Today we'll finish off chapter 3. We are in Thailand. The narrator is Soldier. Today's reading, I dig rather deeply into Soldier's headspace. He is suffering from post traumatic stress syndrome, so it is a rather dark and difficult chapter to get through. When I was in Thailand, I spent some time in Bangkok, and I really love Thailand and Bangkok in particular. There's a real vibrant energy to it. And Bangkok, I found particularly fascinating when it got dark with the nightlife. You would walk in the tourist sections and you'd go by these tiny restaurants where the music was pumping out, coming out into the streets, and there was these beautiful lovely Thai women, and you would see the tourists, the male tourists, kind of draped all over them. So this was my first introduction to what the sex industry in Thailand was like, and I could kind of imagine what it would have been like during the Vietnam War when all of the vets were there. So with no further ado, I'll start the chapter. When I finished my tour at the end of 1968, I detoured to Thailand. I came thinking I'd only stay a week to clear all the war crap from my head before returning to my old life. Officially, many of us went to Thailand for what was known as R&R, rest and recreation. Unofficially, we referred to our time in Thailand as I, intoxication and intercourse. Back in 1957, I'm told there were 20,000 prostitutes in Thailand, which I think seems like a lot, but I'm pretty naive. By 1964, with the war in Nam in full swing, my country had 7 bases in Thailand, and our men needed women, so the number of prostitutes skyrocketed to 400,000. I was surprised that prostitution, although illegal, is considered normal in this country and is a long established industry. Apparently, the girls here are used to servicing the demands of the local men. But with Nam, the sex industry exploded like bombs in the neighboring countries did. The war diversified it and made it more obvious, not only within Thailand, but to the world. The sexual appetite of my comadres, and I'm embarrassed to admit, me, is responsible for injecting $16 million annually into the Thai economy. It's a lot of sex. Sex is big bucks. When the war ends and the soldiers return to their wives and families, a lot of the money will be leaving the country with them. They'll have to find a way to replace it. And they will. From what I knew of Bangkok, I would never be able to predict what began as a GI sexual playground would develop into sex tourism. Who knew? Who knew that tour agencies in countries like Japan, Australia, Korea, and even all over Europe and North America would in the future organize tours just for sex? There'll be no Royal Palace, Wat Po, National Museum, or the floating market on the itinerary. It'll be girls, 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 and more girls. And for those with a different taste, boys, boys, boys. Thai cities and resorts will respond to the demand by specializing in blowjobs or soapy massage. There will be karaoke bars filled with pretty Thai girls in short skirts singing off-tune classic ballads in English while trying to catch the eye of some guy who'll buy her some drinks or whatever. Specialization, unfortunately, will also creep into things I don't and can't understand. I thought the horrors of war were bad. Sexual deviants and pedophiles will flock to places like Pattaya to satisfy an appetite that cannot be fed in their own country. What's wrong with people? And how is it that the exploitation of young boys and girls will rise alarmingly to accommodate trends? I don't get it. This will not be the Thailand I once knew. But in my present stupor, I don't know who I hate more, God, my country, or the Vietnam War. Hate gives way to craving. I reach for the bottle of vodka perched beside me on the nightstand. I don't bother diluting it. I prefer the numbness to take me sooner. Since my tour ended 3 months ago, that's how I've been spending my days, locked up in a tiny, dim-lit room in Bangkok. My dirty clothes are strewn across the room in small, crumpled piles. The white, sweat-dampened sheets from my bed are tightly knotted and twisted from the unforgiving torment that has followed me from the dense jungle and now preys upon me when I try to sleep. My sheets are streaked with bloodstains, more physical evidence of my nightly battles. When I've passed out, I fight with myself, my torment. Booze is the key to me being able to sleep, regardless of how restless that sleep is. As I slowly drink the days away, I lie on the bed in between sips, staring at the ceiling fan go round and round. If I'm feeling particularly jovial, I'll crank up the speed and watch the fan spin helplessly out of control until I feel nauseous and puke. I feel better momentarily. Then it all comes back. The crying boy, the sound of bombs, of a tripped booby trap, of fallen buddies' screams. Women and children pleading for their lives in a language I can't understand. The faces of all those who have died in this friggin' war, both friend and foe, have started to visit me. They visit in the form of decapitated heads that spin around me in circles, whispering into my ears with parched lips. They talk to me in Vietnamese with Texan accents. I sing as loud as I can. How much is that doggy in the window? The one with the waggly tail, woof, 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 to make them stop. But it only makes the faces more persistent, more determined to break me. They are succeeding. I can feel them slowly breaking me into tiny pieces of nothingness. My mind falls onto the floor beside my bed, bit by bit. I know I'm losing it because I hear the pieces hit the floor with a loud thud, thud, thud. So I drink more. When the thudding stops, I find myself back in Nam, sprinting to the helicopter I hear in the clearing. It's there to pick up my platoon, to bring us to safety. I'm running as fast as I can, desperately trying to escape the confines of the jungle lashing out at me in fury. Vines slash across my body. They cut deeply into the fabric, exposing skin that no longer bleeds. I hear the distinct rumble of thunder build in momentum as it shrieks across the sky. Blood rains from black clouds, and I can't see from all the red running down my face in streams. It's getting harder to move. I grab my legs with both hands and use all the strength left in my arms to pull me up and leap from the ground. I look down to see why it's so difficult, and I realize I'm surrounded by amputated body parts and animal carcasses. I scream. I'm unable to move as the bloodied limbs and carcasses pile high around me, forming a wall until I can no longer see. I hear the helicopter lifting off, rising higher and higher into the air, further and further away from me. I can't stop screaming. Wait, wait, I'm here, I'm coming. Please wait. My hands claw at my face and I rip handfuls of hair from my head while my body sobs uncontrollably. Suddenly, the death wall around me comes alive and the eyes of the fallen enemy appear open wide before me. I recognize one of the faces. He's the first person I killed. He smiles at me knowingly, transplanting the fear he felt before he was murdered deep into my soul. He calls for his comrades to come and help me. Severed fingers, hands, ears, arms, legs, feet, and torsos rise from the jungle floor and saunter towards me. Without a sound, the body parts surround me in a tiny enclosure, taunting me until fear overcomes me and another scrap of my soul dies. The love I feel for my family kept me alive when I was on tour. Now it's their love I hide from. I can't bear to see the loving face of my wife or to hold the small, accepting hands of my sons in mine. I am not deserving of such intimacies. I fear I'm no longer capable of love. I left my ability to love in the jungle, buried amongst the fear, blood, and guts of all those who have fallen. I'm afraid the evil enclosed in me will spill out onto my family, corrupting the beauty of their innocence. I know my absence hurts my family, but I don't want them to see me destroyed. I want them to remember me the way I was before I went off to war. Since being in Bangkok, I'd hoped I'd be able to leave the war and all its crap somewhere back in that Vietnamese jungle. But I haven't been able to. The further I've gone from the jungle, the further I've gotten from my sanity. As the days pass, I felt like I'm being smothered by dreams and voices. I tried everything to make it stop: drugs, alcohol, and women. Beautiful Thai women. There was one woman whose companionship I sought for weeks. Her name is Malai, which means flower in Thai. I couldn't get enough of Malai. The pain would only stop when I greedily ravaged her perfect tiny body. I inhaled her like a drug, addicted to the escapism that only came with sex. Unfortunately, any relief I may have felt was temporary, because soon visions came to me at the moment I entered her. I saw myself peering through the denseness of jungle foliage, outside of tiny villages, skulking at young Vietnamese women as they went about their daily chores. I'd stalk them like an animal and wait patiently for the opportunity when no one would be able to hear their cries for help. My appetite for destruction escalated until I had both my hands wrapped around their delicate throats. I'd vent my anger. I'd lash out their exquisite almond eyes so they no longer pleaded for life. Reality and my version of reality became blurred. So much so, I feared what might happen when I was having sex with Malai, so we stopped. I opted for drunken conversation in broken English, and a friendship grew. She kept coming to see me, Malai, my lovely little angel, who even my wife would have liked. She took care of me as she would a belligerent child. Excuse me. Sorry. She brought me vodka, cleaned my clothes, my room, and me. It was Malai's hand that I held when I took my final breath. I'll never be able to repay her for her kindness. To her, I owe my deepest gratitude. I didn't mistake Malai's actions for love. When I first sought her company, it could have developed into a beautiful love affair, she once told me. But my mind was already too far gone. I knew she was fond of me, but I saw the pity in her eyes. I felt it in her touch when she washed the puke from my face. I call your wife. Let me call your wife. She asked me many times, your wife will be worried about you. I knew Malai was right, but an afternoon of her imploring me to write. I did. I wrote my goodbye letters. I wrote them during one of my sober moments. There were very few of them in those Bangkok months. I wrote letters to my parents, my wife, and my children. I told them how much I loved them, how very sorry I wasn't able to return to them. I asked them to forgive me, but I knew they'd never be able to understand what I did. I don't even know myself. I gave them to Malai to post. I know she will honor my request. I'm thankful for that. She has been my only friend since I arrived in Bangkok. Yes, I paid her well for her services, and even if there was an undercurrent of pity involved, I smile now when I think of what began as a paid arrangement ended in a friendship. Somewhere in the back of my head, I hear my wife crying. Her sobs are the gentle cries of a woman who has accepted the fact that her husband is not coming home. I hope in her heart she'll be able to forgive me for my sins and for my weaknesses. I hope my sons will be able to forgive me for abandoning their mother, for abandoning them. There is so much I need to be forgiven for, and I will no longer have the strength to fight. When I close my eyes, it will be for the last time. I am ready to surrender to whatever happens next. In these final moments, I sincerely hope there is a forgiving God. Thank you for listening, and tomorrow, Monk, a raven, and a soldier will meet in death. Thank you.